Hey friends, it's me again. Okay, so today it got overcast. We spent all morning doing lacrosse, 4 games of lacrosse. It got overcast. It was supposed to be stormy, and I was so excited. And I snuggled in and I started studying more about cannabis because I've become that person, and I'm sure you think I'm crazy, but I am blown away by all the benefits of this single plant and what it can cause, the effects it can cause. And then the sun came out. So it was all prepped, like in my sweatshirt and cozy and ready to study. And I still studied. So I am learning so much more stuff that I am thrilled to share with you. I actually did have to write a few things down, and I hope you don't mind my reading it, because we have to be so careful about the words that we use when we're talking about CBD, because we cannot claim, medical benefits. I'm not a doctor, all those things. So in order for me to be able to talk faster and not hem and haw, I wrote down words in order to describe certain things, to impart what I'm thinking. But I've been on vacation, so we got back on Wednesday and we did this amazing whirlwind road trip across the Pacific Northwest, which was so much fun because I took pictures and posted them for my family so they could see us, because we had no reception, and it turned out we had quite a little following of friends watching us, so that was so much fun. But I've been trying to review and catch up and do laundry and figure out CBD stuff, that all this stuff, crazy fun stuff, hit the fan with CBD when I was gone. But what I said right before I left, and I wanted to make sure that I said it in person, is that I really want to verbally say to all of you, thank you. Thank you so much for those of you who reach out to me, who trust my judgment, who allow me to do research for you. I don't know all the answers, but I love researching and I love looking for answers. And when I hear from people that I haven't heard from in years, because we're Facebook friends and you've heard me talk on here, it means the world to me that you trust my judgment and you trust what I'm doing. So most of my friends know, if you're my friend on Facebook, I've had a long journey. And when I found out that I was diagnosed with my inflammatory bowel disease, it was 1998, around there. I'd been struggling for about 5 years, but I'd never even heard of it before, never heard of Crohn's before. And I didn't have anybody to guide me. I didn't have anybody to tell me anything. I didn't have anybody who left a mark for me to follow. So I really was figuring out things all on my own. This is before I really believed that diet could impact our choices. It was when I still believed strongly and medication, and that was the end all. So sorry, I keep getting texts, but since then I made a very intentional choice about 10 years ago, because I'd always kind of kept my illness private, not because I was embarrassed, or I just really never wanted to be a burden to anybody else. And so I had a neighbor who told me, I had no idea that you were that sick. We want to help you. And as hard as it is to ask for help, at that point I decided to be open about my struggles and about my illness, because I wanted God to use my pain and my illness to help someone else. And I didn't know what that looked like. And for a long time, it didn't look like anything, because I was curled up in a ball on the floor in a lot of pain trying to raise 3 kids. But I just kept praying to be bold and sharing my miracles, sharing my disease. And sadly, my disease has grown in prominence over the last 10 years, and I have wonderfully been able to make new friends I've never met in person, that friends have sent to me to talk about my illness and how they can help themselves. So I will continue to be bold in sharing what I think is a miracle when I find things that work for me, diets or CBD oil, until the Lord leads me in a different direction, because I don't take it lightly that you listen to me and that you're trusting my research and using your money to invest in a product that you may not know a lot about. So I just wanted you to hear me say in person, thank you, because it really means a lot to me. I appreciate you in more ways than you know, to hear you come back and tell me how your life has changed. I got a call just last week from a friend I've never met, from her mother, to tell me how incredible the benefits have been for her digestive system. That she was so patient and it took her several months, but that now she is having complete normalcy with her tummy issues. And that just, she had no help from her doctor and she was at the end of her rope. So it just makes my day to get stories like that, and makes me want to continue to research and encourage people to just to try new things. But I know how it is to feel desperate. I know how it is to feel scared. My doctors told me I'd be on medicine for my discomfort for the rest of my life. So it just, I just want to help. I just want to help people. So I kind of say, in the same way that I wake up some mornings and wonder how I ended up in Kansas. I often wake up and wonder how I ended up selling CBD, because this is nothing I ever dreamed I would be doing, and I fully believe that this is how it's giving me a platform to share my story and to share my health and all my issues. And my sister is really texting. So I am not working outside of the home right now because of the issues that are going on in our world, and I'm staying home with my boys because there's an uncertain future. We still don't know what we're going back to in the fall, and so this has been my kind of fallback income, and it has been incredible for me because I am passionate about what I'm doing, and so it's been really nice that my fallback has been something that I'm almost as passionate about as patient care, because this is patient care to me. It's helping people feel better. But what I'm preaching to today is cannabis. It's not a product that I'm talking about. It's not a brand, but cannabis. And oh gosh, I forgot to pull this out. So do you remember when we've been talking about cannabis, there's an umbrella that we look at. And can you see this on there? There's an umbrella. Oh, cannabis is at the top, and we have hemp on one side and marijuana on the other side. And hemp is high in CBD, low in THC. Marijuana is high in THC and low in CBD. So CBD and THC are actually cannabinoids. This is kind of a review for people who watch my videos. But when people worry about THC, you need to know that CBD actually blocks the psychoactive effects of the THC, which is amazing. It goes in and it blocks those effects. But that's why when we've talked about the entourage effect, when CBD and that tiny bit of THC work together, it produces incredible benefits. So CBD blocks the psychoactive, or the feeling of high, of the THC, but thus allowing the THC to work. So you'll see ratios of THC to CBD. And so our ratio, I'm not even sure what the ratio is, but say for example 5-to-1. So that means there's 5 little CBDs to 1 THC. That's a big spread. That means that there's very, very little bit of THC to a large amount of CBD. But then as the ratios come closer together, so say 1-to-1, you're going to get more of a psychoactive effect. So that 5-to-1, there's nothing, like nothing. But then 1-to-1, that's when you get more of a psychoactive effect, because you're having more of an equivalent between the CBD and the THC. So just wanted to get that out there. People, understandably, were uneducated, and a lot of it began in the 70s with the reefer madness and trying to make hemp be outlawed and all political, that people thought that marijuana was so bad, and if it's abused, it's bad. I totally see that, but I also believe that God gave us plants for healing, and I'll go into that in a little bit, but that these plants are here for us to use for our bodies. But I get this statement a lot, which is what I'm going to cover today, that I'm okay. Like, people call me and get stuff for them or for their family member or want to ask, but I don't have anything wrong with me. I don't need CBD, implying that they don't need to take it because nothing is wrong with their bodies. And the more that I read and the more I research, I could not disagree more. I think everybody should be taking CBD oil. Of course, it needs to be a quality CBD oil, but everybody should be taking it, and I'm going to tell you why. So, number one, there's so much research out there that points to the preventative maintenance and preventative health of CBD. Do you take a daily vitamin? Do you exercise? Do you drink water? Do we do all the things that we do because we know we should in order to keep our body healthy? Well, we produce CBD naturally in our bodies. So if there is a lack of it, just like we have a lack of vitamins, then why wouldn't we be okay with taking it on a daily basis in order to prevent further health problems? Number three, what do you have to lose? Why not take it? We know it's safe, we know it's effective, so why not? But we have, I heard this once when I was talking to a chiropractor many years ago, but we have come to accept that it's normal for us to age. It's normal for us to limp, for our knees to hurt, to have inflammation of our joints. But what if that's not normal for aging? What if that's normal because we have a depleted endocannabinoid system? And if we can regulate that system and get it back to normal, we can live to be so much longer without just dealing every day with those issues. Phenomenal thought. Like we just accept aging, and maybe we shouldn't just accept aging. So one other point, let's see, I want to make sure. Okay, so most people these days are discovering CBD and they're starting it, and the people that I deal with, they're calling me because they're in crisis mode. They're not calling to say, Penny, I want to take a vitamin, but they're in crisis mode and they have a hurt here or they have anxious feelings there, and they need a specific need currently, or they have a specific need that currently needs to be met. But studies have shown if you take CBD in low doses over a long period of time, it makes your body operate more efficiently the longer that you use it. And we've talked about that with Melinda. You know, she was saying how if we were to have a part of our car that wasn't working properly, it's putting a lot more stress on the rest of the car in order to compensate for that car. So if we can get our whole body working together, I really use my hands. I need to sit on my hands. If we can get our body working efficiently, then our body, then we're not going to get out of whack, and parts of our body are going to get fatigued or ill or end up sick. So the other amazing thing about CBD, and I'm going to try to reduce it down to this because there's lots of really big words, but basically pharmaceuticals or drugs that we take typically have one mechanism of action. And what that means, you take it for a very specific purpose. I have thyroid issues, so I take a thyroid medicine. Or if you have reflux, you take a reflux medication. Whereas CBD has many mechanisms of actions, meaning it can multitask, which is, it just blows my mind. This was kind of my aha moment today. But they're all too big of words that anybody here cares to hear about. But to name a few, CBD acts on opioid receptors. You're familiar with that word. It inhibits the reuptake of serotonin, of GABA, of dopamine, norepinephrine. These are all hormones that are in our bodies, that are in our synapses, in our nervous system, that cause our body or our endocrine system to work properly, that cause our nervous system to work properly. So CBD acts on all of those parts of our bodies, which is just phenomenal. So when we're shocked that it works to improve many body systems, which is what I asked about when I first started using CBD, how can it help someone with issues in their brain and someone who has a hurt knee? How can it do that? Cannabis is like a professional multitasker, and I kind of think of it like an orchestra inside of our body. It's like directing one part and then it's coming over here, and to me that is God. I mean, God is just orchestrating everything in our lives all the time, and to see how plants are orchestrated in our bodies for our function, it just blows my mind and gets me so giddy. But on top of that, its safety profile is huge. It's so safe. There are not side effects of hemp-based CBD when you take it properly. Zero side effects when you take it properly. Whereas I could have side effects from those medications I listed before, and then I take another medication to counter those side effects. But when you take a plant-based medicine, there's not side effects when used properly. It's quite amazing. So because it's orchestrating, we have multiple systems that it acts upon, and this is what I'm going to try to get to. I know I've gotten off task here, but number one, it makes a difference in your nervous system. And I'm going to read a little bit here off and on, but cannabinoids have been shown to reduce the intensity of discomfort including inflammatory discomfort, neuropathic discomfort in your head, and life-threatening illness discomfort. Take maybe the big C word, discomfort. So cannabinoids reduce spasticity and the discomfort associated with, say, muscle spasms. Beyond that, it's decreasing the intensity of that discomfort. Many people report that cannabis changes the nature of the discomfort, basically making it more bearable and less distracting. And if you've never been in excruciating pain, it's literally mind-blowing. Like you lose your mind when you have that amount of pain. Kind of brings me to tears to think about. But cannabis is able to make it more bearable and less distracting, so you can live and function through it and hopefully ultimately be rid of it. On this note, I always like to mention my perspective. When someone gets concerned about using CBD with the small amounts of THC for pain, which I understand because we don't understand that's not something we've talked about for many, many years. But it started, like I said, with the reefer madness, and obviously if taken medicinally as legalized, which is up to 0.3% of THC, and it's not abused, there's incredible therapeutic benefit, as I mentioned before, with the ratios of CBD to THC, which allows that entourage effect, which we've talked about before. When CBD and THC work together, it maximizes the benefits. But what I like to point out is that having gone through so much myself in the world of discomfort, I could list every single pain medication, whether given by IVs, by injections, by pills, all the names of those meds that we know are sold on the street illegally. I've taken them legally, but I've had every heavy medicine for discomfort there is, and I have no idea what the long-term effects of those are going to be on my kidneys, on my liver, on my body. Yet we have a plant, be it in the form of hemp or marijuana. Both are cannabis, but they're different levels. So marijuana is created by God to provide nutrition and healing, as is hemp. And there's different levels of healing that come from each of those plants, in the same way that we have different levels of meds for discomfort. So it always kind of makes me giggle, and this has kind of been my realization in the last year, is that I was willing to take the big words, the big drugs, with no idea what the side effects are. Yet I wasn't willing to take marijuana, which is a plant, which is God-made, carbon-made. It has no side effects, but God put those on the earth for us to use. So it's just amazing, that aha moment for me, that why would I opt for those chemicals that, mind you, didn't cover my pain at all? Like, I was still in an excruciating amount of pain when I took them, when I could take something that God put on the earth that's a plant to use for the very same issue. It's made with carbon or natural ingredients, and it's not chemicals. So I know that my kidneys and my liver are going to be okay in the long run. So also, that was just my own personal side note, but for illnesses in the neurologic system, we find certain illnesses that a lot of people get as we age that causes our brain to have issues. Cannabis acts on that, as well as tremors or any sort of neurologic impairment, whether acute, meaning caused by an accident, caused accidentally, and a physical impairment, or something that we have grown into as we age. How about that for saying that? Okay, digestive system. It gets better after this. Digestive system. Cannabis has broad effects on the digestive system, just like I told you about my friend's mom that called the other day to say how amazing she felt. It also, because it provides homeostasis, because it balances things out, for some people, it can increase your appetite. For some people, it can reduce your appetite if that's what your body needs. So for people who are underweight, it will help to increase your appetite. For people that are overweight or perhaps have blood sugar issues, it will work to decrease your appetite, which is just amazing. But it can also reduce nausea and vomiting. It can inhibit acid secretion. It can relax your smooth muscles, which decreases discomfort in your stomach. It can decrease inflammation, which is what my disease is, which I go to town reading about that, and the incredible benefits of the inflammation that it removes from inflammatory bowel disease is just phenomenal. It decreases motility, which means moving through your digestive system, which actually means it will relieve cramps and diarrhea because it will slow that motility down. Or it will increase motility if you're having constipation and having those issues. So it's that homeostasis. It's smart. It's carbon made. It's God made. It knows how to work. Cannabis also acts on our metabolism. Cannabinoids influence the hormones that control appetite and fat metabolism. So despite increasing appetite, several studies have shown that cannabis users are less likely to be obese and have blood sugar problems than their non-cannabis using counterparts. So researchers have found that THC, I can give this if anybody wants this study, but researchers have found that THC prevents mice fed an obesity-inducing diet from gaining weight. And it prevented changes in their gut bacteria associated with obesity. Underweight patients with chronic illness also use cannabis to gain weight, which I mentioned that. As in other bodily systems, cannabinoids have the potential to be bidirectional. That's kind of what I was mentioning before, but bidirectional means it can work both ways depending upon what your need. It restores the balance, helping both overweight and underweight individuals move closer to what their normal weight can be. So it goes back to that critical role that we've talked about, homeostasis, or balancing what our bodies need. And bidirectional means that for you it can work one way, for me it can work the other way based on what our bodies need. Cannabis works on the cardiovascular system. Cannabis exerts the bidirectional effects on the cardiovascular system because it can increase or decrease both the heart rate and the blood pressure. Low doses of cannabinoids have been shown to protect the heart from damage during a heart attack. Isn't that amazing? Preventive, prophylactic treatment, preventative medication. We take, doctors tell us to take aspirin to prevent clots. Why not take CBD? It's going to potentially prevent heart from damage during a heart attack. Eyes and ears. Cannabinoids can protect the retina and the optic nerve from inflammatory diseases of the eye. You know what that is? When you get that pressure behind your eye and you have to have surgery to relieve the pressure behind your eye, because that's inflammation, cannabis can act on that inflammation and reduce the inflammation, as well as any other diseases of the eye, especially inflammatory based. Cannabis has also been shown to acutely improve night vision. That was impressive to me. The endocrine or the hormonal system. Cannabis users tend to secrete less cortisol. So this, if you're not used to talking about this, cortisol is secreted when you're stressed out. My husband tells me this all the time. He's a trader, and there's lots of studies talking about how traders are so unhealthy and out of whack because they live at this level of stress, which he does, and he takes his CBD and it helps, but that if you take cannabis, then you tend to secrete less cortisol upon exposure to those stressors. So cortisol is a hormone produced by the adrenal glands that helps improve resilience to stress, but it also raises the blood sugar, the blood pressure, and has other undesirable effects from prolonged elevation, such as weight gain. This may indicate that cannabis users are less distressed by that threat in that moment of stress and are protected against some of those long-term effects of elevated cortisol. So the idea is you don't want your cortisol to elevate and then stay elevated, because that can have a lot of detrimental effects, but cannabis is able to regulate that and bring it down. Soft tissues and joints. And if this isn't a reason to take cannabis on a regular basis, I don't know what is. But cannabinoids can promote bone growth. You know how we take our calcium all the time, us ladies, to make sure that we have really strong bones. Inhibiting bone resorption meaning as bone breaks down. And some are currently being studied for prevention and treatment of bone disease, the disease we get as we age and we get hunkered over, that starts with the big letter O. So our bodies increase the number of cannabinoid receptors present in the tissues. That's amazing that we can actually increase the number of cannabinoid receptors that are injured or inflamed, indicating a role for cannabinoids in healing. Several cannabinoids have, in fact, been shown to prevent cartilage breakdown in joints and speed the repair process in damaged skeletal muscle. And CBD has also been shown to speed the healing of bone fractures. I thought that was very interesting. So this alone supports the Arthritis Association endorsement of CBD for arthritic pain. I can say that. The Arthritis Foundation endorses the use of CBD for managing your arthritic pain, which is amazing. So why not take it before you ever get that pain? I mean, and keep your joints healthy, so keep your soft tissue healthy. Respiratory system. Cannabis can dry upper respiratory secretions. So that means it may be benefit to individuals with sinus issues. Remember how I was using the crown on my sinuses? It may decrease runny nose, or severely ill patients who maybe they're at risk for choking on secretions, or they have a hard time coughing to get the phlegm up. Cannabis has been shown to dilate or open the airways in the lungs. I have a husband and a son with asthma, so this is right up our alley. But it will potentially improve their oxygen intake because it can open up the airways in the lungs, and it can act as an expectorant to clear that phlegm that they have that settles down in there that causes bronchitis, inflammation of the lungs. So that's the respiratory system. Immune system, we've just got 2 more to go. The immune system is partially controlled by our body's own cannabinoids, because we do produce our own cannabinoids. We produce CBD on our own, and for whatever reason we're depleted. But using cannabis can affect the immune function in complex ways. If you have an autoimmune disease, what it means is that your body is overreacting and it's fighting itself. So what it can do for an immune system is that it suppresses the immune system so that it's not fighting itself all the time. It's not in 5th gear going crazy. So overall, cannabinoids have an anti-inflammatory property with immune diseases, and it suppresses the overactive immune system that can cause inflammatory conditions because of that overactive system. So cannabinoids, terpenes, and other substances in the plant that we've talked about before have antibacterial properties, including potent activity against antibiotic-resistant infections. Hold on to that one for a minute. They have antibacterial properties that can prevent against antibiotic-resistant infections. That's pretty big. And the last word. All cancer is abnormal cell growth, right? So there's abnormal cells that are growing and replicating and growing and replicating and growing and replicating. And then if they get into our lymph system, it's when they spread to different organs of our bodies. So cannabinoids have been shown to target and affect abnormal cell growth differently, very differently than normal, healthy cells. And we talked about this when I talked about the terpenes and the monoterpenes, and how essential oils know how to go in, get rid of the bad cells, replicate the healthy DNA cells, and repair what needs to be repaired. So because cannabinoids can go in and target these abnormal cell growth cells differently than normal healthy cells and various types of abnormal cell growth, cannabinoids have been shown to prevent the growth of tumors, trigger cell death of the bad stuff, like I said, prevent the formation of blood vessels that feed the tumor. The tumors grow because they have a source of blood supply to them to feed them and help them grow and make them stronger. It's like sunshine to have blood vessels there. And inhibit the metastasis, or the spreading of abnormal cell growth from one part of the body to another. There are many types of abnormal growth of cells, and we're still really young in our research, but it is well established that cannabis can help with the symptoms of and the side effects of the treatment and can be used to enhance the effects of conventional treatments. And this is what I love the most, that cannabis can be used concurrently with the abnormal cell growth treatments that we're going to hospitals and getting. And studies have even shown that cannabis can enhance the benefits of traditional treatment for abnormal cell growth and radiation while reducing their side effects. So I had to be very careful with my choice of words there. But basically, it can speed the healing, just like we said, it sped the healing of bones. It can speed the healing of abnormal cell growth, working concurrently with modern medicine. And I have a wonderful friend who has a great story that I hope she shares sometime, but she used cannabis concurrently with her abnormal cell growth therapy, and she got to cancel surgery. She got to reduce the numbers of time that she had to take medicine, and it's just an answer to prayer. But so in closing, I ask you, what wouldn't you do to keep yourself healthy with all of this incredible scientific research to back it up, which I can provide you all the journals in the world that you want if you want to read scientific journals. Is it worth it to you to take a daily vitamin? I take daily vitamin every day. Is it worth the investment in your future to take CBD? Because that's like a daily vitamin, and we know that we produce it naturally. So why would you not add CBD to your daily regimen with those incredible preventative benefits? I personally, I don't want to get to the point in my life again where I have to make a choice. Like I had to make a choice. Okay, cut out my stomach. I don't want to make that choice again. I would rather prevent ever having inflammatory diseases that cause me to make that choice. So there's things that we can do to keep our body healthy, like exercise, drink water, take vitamins. We do all these things. We eat broccoli, we eat our beans. I eat one black-eyed pea on New Year's Day. But picture CBD as your daily vitamin. Do you want to get sick and then have to consider what your treatment options are? Or would you rather try to just prevent illness to begin with?